talk about the NBA news because there was some breaking news shortly before we hopped onto our podcast. A trade between the Clippers and the Grizzlies. Pat Beverly, Rajon Rondo, and Oturu to the Grizzlies for just Eric Bledsoe. My first impression of this is I think the Memphis Grizzlies win. However, Woj was quick to note in a tweet that the Grizzlies roster is pretty maxed out at this point. They are far from being done with some moves and trying to move some pieces and get the salary cap the way they want it. But does this mean anything for the Western Conference odds? I mean, the Clippers plus 1,000 value, Grizzlies plus 5,000 value. Does this move mean anything enough for either of these teams to really be putting them in contention with the Lakers or the Warriors or the Suns that we're really seeing in the top three?
No.
I don't think so either, but the question's worth asking, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not gonna bet them, either of these teams. I like what the Grizzlies are doing. Pat Beverly is probably a better backup one than anything the Grizzlies have right now. But yeah, I mean, this deal doesn't really move the needle for me. So it is what it is. Maybe the Clippers, get a better player with some. Probably shoots a little bit better than Pat Beverly and definitely Rajon Rondo. So maybe Eric Bledsoe adds slightly more shooting, but that's not really his role either. So just like kind of, shuffling the deck a little bit.
Well, maybe there's a different scenario that moves the needle a little more, Brett. On the East Coast, we have two trades that were trying to happen but still haven't been completed yet. They were announced the day of the day of free agency starting, the day that they could be announced at 6:01 p.m. These were announced. Lonzo Ball still isn't a Chicago Bull. Kyle Lowry is still not a part of the Miami Heat. It's interesting because there's rumors of maybe tampering consequences to some of these teams, but we don't know what that means. If are these trades going to be declined? Is it just going to be forfeiting of a pick and a fine? I mean, it's really up in the air, but the NBA seems to want to crack down on tampering like this, right?
Well, I'm not really sure what not you specifically, but what it means by saying Kyle Lowry's still not on the Heat, because Precious Achua is playing for the Raptors Summer League. So the trade's done for all intents and purposes. Like, I mean,
That's a great point to
it
make.
can't go back. So I don't know where that information came from. Obviously, it's not from you. But
Yeah.
I mean, the trade's done. So I don't really know. I mean, maybe they lose a second round pick. It's kind of a big deal. Second round picks, oftentimes can become role players. Occasionally, you get a Hall of Famer, a Manu Ginobili, or a really good player like a Chris Middleton. But more often than not, you can develop a role player from the second round, and you need those guys, especially on good competitive teams. But I mean, the trades are going through. Like, Lowry's going to be playing for the Heat this year, and Lonzo Ball will be a Chicago Bull. Higgins, that I am sure of.
Yes, but just for clarity, I'm not pulling this out of my ass.
No,
The NBA no,
no, no.
I
Yeah.
know you're not claiming that of me, but just to clarify for the listeners that are unfamiliar of the situation, the NBA has opened an investigation into these trades of Lonzo Ball going to the Chicago Bulls and Kyle Lowry going to the Miami Heat. Whether that means these trades get stopped by any means, I don't necessarily think they do or not. You make a great point of the fact that Precious Achua is already playing for the Raptors Summer League team. That's a fantastic point to make, actually. But it's worth noting because this is going to have a consequence of some extent if it turns out to be true that there was tampering. And when you have these announcements at 6:01 p.m. when free agency formally opens at 6:00 p.m., it's hard to argue that a full trade can be negotiated and agreed upon in 60 seconds. So I personally see tampering charges being likely accused or upheld by the NBA just because of how quickly these deals came to be. But I don't know the extent of what these penalties are going to be, and that's what's interesting to me. That's what's interesting.
Yeah, no, I don't know what the penalties will be. You mentioned the Bucks got fined a second round pick, so I'm going off that and saying maybe that's the case here. But I think when it comes to where the players will be suiting up, they will be the Lonzo Ball. I expect to be, in Chicago, and Kyle Lowry. I expect to be in Miami.
I would agree with that as well.